There is a point in your financial life where money stops feeling like a constant emergency. You open your banking app, and for once, your stomach does not drop. You are not calculating whether one coffee will ruin your week. You are not wondering if groceries, rent, gas, and your phone bill can somehow all fit inside the same paycheck. You are not silently negotiating with yourself like, okay, if I don't go out this weekend, maybe I'll be fine. Instead, you look at the number, and something strange happens. You feel calm, not rich, not financially free, not like you can quit your job and disappear to an island, just calm. And that calm is more powerful than most people realize, because for many people, the first real financial breakthrough is not becoming a millionaire. It is not making six figures. It is not buying a house. It is not owning some secret investment that nobody else knows about. For a lot of people, the first real breakthrough happens around one number, $20,000. Now, before anyone gets the wrong idea, $20,000 is not a magic number. It will not make you rich overnight. It will not protect you from every problem, and it definitely does not mean you should suddenly start living like you made it. But for many people, $20,000 represents something extremely important: distance. Distance between you and panic. Distance between you and bad decisions. Distance between you and being forced to say yes because you cannot afford to say no. And once you understand that, you start to see money differently. Because the first $20,000 is not just about having more money. It is about becoming a different kind of decision maker. And that is where wealth actually begins. This is not financial advice. This video is for education and entertainment only. Everyone's situation is different, and you should make financial decisions based on your own circumstances. Now, let me show you why this number matters so much. Imagine two people. They both earn the same income. They both live in the same city. They both have the same bills, same rent, same job, same basic lifestyle, but one of them has $300 in their bank account. The other has $20,000 saved. From the outside, their lives might look almost identical, but mentally, they are living in two completely different worlds. The person with $300 is not just low on money. They are low on options. A car repair is not just a car repair. It is a crisis. A medical bill is not just a bill, it is a threat. A rent increase is not just annoying, it can change their entire life. Even a bad day at work feels heavier because walking away is not realistic. They need the next paycheck, they need the job, they need things to go perfectly. And when your financial life requires everything to go perfectly, you are not really stable. You are one problem away from chaos. Now compare that to the person with $20,000, the same problems still happen. The car still breaks. The bill still arrives. The boss can still be difficult. Rent can still go up. But the emotional meaning of those problems changes. A car repair becomes frustrating, not catastrophic. A bill becomes annoying, not life-destroying. A bad boss becomes a problem to solve, not a trap you have to survive forever. That is the power of a financial buffer. It does not remove every problem, it changes what problems do to you. And this is the part most people miss. Being broke is expensive, not only financially, but mentally. When you have no buffer, your brain is constantly scanning for danger. You are not thinking 5 years ahead. You are thinking 5 days ahead. You are not asking, how do I build wealth? You are asking, how do I make it to Friday? And when your brain is in that mode, long-term thinking becomes almost impossible. You make decisions from fear. You take the first job offer because you cannot wait for a better one. You stay in situations that drain you because leaving feels too risky. You avoid investing in yourself because every dollar already has somewhere it needs to go. You say yes to things you hate because no feels too expensive. That is why the first financial buffer is so important. It does not just protect your bank account, it gives your brain room to breathe. And once your brain has room to breathe, you start making better decisions. This is why $20,000 can be more powerful than people think. Because $20,000 is often around the level where three important things happen at the same time. First, you can cover real emergencies. Second, you have proven to yourself that you can control money instead of being controlled by it. Third, you start seeing money as a tool, not just a survival resource. That shift is huge. Before the buffer, money is a fire extinguisher. You only use it when something is burning. After the buffer, money becomes a toolbox. You can build with it. You can invest with it. You can negotiate with it. You can make better moves because you are no longer operating from desperation. And research supports this idea. Vanguard research found that even having $2,000 in emergency savings is associated with significantly higher financial well-being. That means you do not need to start with $20,000 to feel the first change. Even a small emergency fund can reduce stress. But $20,000 is where the buffer often becomes big enough to affect your actual life strategy. Because $2,000 can help you survive a small emergency. But $20,000 can help you rethink your life. That is the difference. With $2,000, you can handle a repair. With $20,000, you can leave a bad job. You can move cities. You can take time to search for a better opportunity. You can pay for a course. You can start a small business experiment. You can say no. And the ability to say no is one of the most underrated financial assets in the world. Most people do not say yes because they want to. They say yes because they have to. Yes to the job they hate. Yes to the client who disrespects them. Yes to the overtime they did not want. Yes to the bad deal. Yes to the payment plan. Yes to the life that keeps them stuck. Not because they are weak, because they have no financial oxygen. A $20,000 buffer gives you oxygen. Not enough to stop working forever, but enough to stop making decisions like someone who is drowning, and that changes everything. Now, the second reason your first $20,000 matters is mathematical. At the beginning, building wealth feels painfully slow. You save $200, then $500, then maybe $1,000. And after months of discipline, it still feels like nothing is happening. You are skipping things. You are saying no. You are trying to be responsible, and your reward is a number that barely seems to move. This is where most people quit. Not because they are incapable, but because the early stage of wealth building gives you almost no emotional reward. It feels like pushing a heavy wheel from a dead stop. At first, it barely moves. You push harder, still slow. You question whether this is even worth it. But once the wheel starts turning, momentum begins to help you. That is how money works. At first, you do almost all the work. Later, your money starts doing part of the work with you. And eventually, if you stay consistent long enough, your money does more and more of the heavy lifting. Let's use a simple example. Imagine you invest $1,000 per month. Assume an 8% annual return. That return is not guaranteed. It is just a hypothetical example to explain the math. At the beginning, your results are almost entirely driven by your contributions. You are the engine. Your money is not doing much yet. But once you have $20,000 invested, an 8% year would be about $1,600. That is money you did not earn by working extra hours. It came from the capital you already built. Now, $1,600 may not make you rich, but psychologically, it proves something important. Your money can produce money. And once you see that happen, even on a small scale, investing stops feeling like a theory. It becomes real. At $2,000, a 10% return is $200. Nice, but not life-changing. At $20,000, a 10% return is $2,000. Now you are looking at an amount that can pay bills, buy time, or accelerate the next investment. Same percentage, same market, same strategy, different scale. That is why the first $20,000 feels so important. Not because the investment strategy suddenly becomes more advanced. You can still use the same basic tools, the same broad market funds, the same long-term principles. The difference is that the numbers start to matter. Small percentages finally become visible, and once progress becomes visible, motivation becomes easier. But here is where people make a huge mistake. They hit their first $20,000, and then they treat it like a prize. They think, I have been disciplined for so long, I deserve something. And emotionally, that makes sense. You want to feel rewarded. You want proof that your sacrifice was worth it. So people buy a car. They upgrade their apartment. They take the expensive vacation. They start living like the buffer is extra money. But the first $20,000 is not extra money. It is foundation money. And you do not build a house by pouring the foundation and then ripping it out to buy a nicer front door. But financially, that is exactly what many people do. They build the first layer of stability, then destroy it to feel successful for a few weeks. This is one of the biggest differences between people who build wealth and people who constantly restart. Poor financial thinking asks, what can I afford now? Wealth-building thinking asks, what will this decision cost me later? That question changes everything. A $35,000 car is not just a $35,000 car. It is $35,000 that cannot compound. It is $35,000 that cannot become future freedom. It is $35,000 that might keep you tied to payments, stress, and a higher cost of living. That does not mean you can never enjoy money. That is not the point. The point is intentionality. There is a massive difference between spending money on something that genuinely improves your life and spending money because you are trying to look like your life improved. A lot of people do not buy things because they want the thing. They buy the feeling of progress, the feeling of status, the feeling of being in control, the feeling of I am not behind. But the dangerous thing is this: some purchases make you look financially strong while making you financially weaker. A flashy car can make you look successful. A bigger apartment can make you feel upgraded. An expensive lifestyle can make other people assume you are doing well. But if those things destroy your savings rate, they are not signs of wealth. They are expensive decorations on top of financial fragility. Real financial strength is quieter. It does not need to impress everyone. It is the ability to sleep well. It is the ability to handle problems. It is the ability to walk away. It is the ability to make decisions without fear, controlling every move. That is what your first $20,000 buys you, not luxury, leverage. Now let's talk about work, because this is where the buffer becomes extremely powerful. When you live paycheck to paycheck, your job is not just a job, it is your oxygen supply. That means your employer has enormous power over you. You may not like the environment. You may know you are underpaid. You may feel disrespected. You may want to leave. But if you cannot survive without the next paycheck, your options are limited. You negotiate differently when you are desperate. You ask for less. You tolerate more. You avoid conflict. You play smaller, not because you lack ambition, because you cannot afford uncertainty. Now imagine having $20,000 saved. You do not have to quit. You do not have to become reckless. You do not have to act arrogant. But internally, something changes. You know that if things become truly unacceptable, you can leave. You can survive for months. You can look for better work. You can take interviews without panic. You can negotiate from strength. That is walking away money. And walking away money changes your posture. It changes your voice. It changes what you tolerate. It changes how you show up. Often, you do not even need to use it. Just having it makes you less afraid. And when you are less afraid, you become more valuable. You speak more clearly. You ask better questions. You take smarter risks. You stop acting like someone who is waiting for permission. And people notice. That is why a financial buffer can indirectly increase your income. Not because the money itself gives you a raise, but because the confidence it creates changes your behavior. And behavior changes outcomes. This is why the first $20,000 is not only a savings goal, it is a career asset. It is a negotiation tool. It is a confidence reserve. It is proof that you are not trapped. Now, if you are starting from zero, $20,000 can sound impossible. So do not start with $20,000. Start with $1,000, then $2,000, then 1 month of expenses, then 3 months, then 6 months. The goal is not to become perfect. The goal is to stop being financially fragile. And the system is simple, even if it is not easy. First, know your real monthly expenses, not what you think you spend, what you actually spend. Rent, food, insurance, subscriptions, transport, debt payments, random purchases, everything. Second, create a starter emergency fund. This is your anti-panic money, not investment money, not vacation money, not I deserve it money, anti-panic money. Third, automate the process. Do not save whatever is left at the end of the month. That usually means saving nothing. Pay your future first. Move the money out as soon as income comes in. Make the decision once, then let the system repeat it. Fourth, protect the milestone. When you reach your first real buffer, do not immediately upgrade your lifestyle. Pause. Let the new identity settle. You are now the kind of person who can hold money. That matters because the habit that gets you to $20,000 is the same habit that can get you to $100,000. And the habit that gets you to $100,000 is the same habit that can eventually build real wealth. Different numbers, same identity. That is the real secret. The first $20,000 is not powerful because of what it buys. It is powerful because of who it proves you are becoming. You become someone who can delay gratification, someone who can control impulses, someone who can think long-term, someone who can choose stability over appearance, someone who understands that money is not just for spending. Money is for options. And options are freedom. Not the fake freedom of buying whatever you want today. The real freedom of not being forced into decisions tomorrow. That is why your first $20,000 might matter more than your first million. Because the million changes your lifestyle. But the first $20,000 changes your operating system. It changes how you think, how you work, how you negotiate, how you spend, how you see yourself. And once that changes, money stops being something that only disappears. It becomes something that can protect you, then work for you, then open doors for you. So if you are at zero right now, do not obsess over becoming rich overnight. Build the first layer. Get to $1,000, then $2,000, then 1 month, then 3 months, then 6. Your future does not change in one dramatic moment. It changes when you quietly build enough stability that fear is no longer making every decision for you. And one day, you will open your banking app and you will not panic. You will not feel rich, but you will feel different. You will feel space. You will feel control. You will feel like life is no longer pushing you around in the same way. And that is when you will understand the first $20,000 was never just about money. It was the moment you started getting your life back.